Okay, Garmin. Video speichern. Ja, das war rot, gute Frau.
Okay, Garmin, please shut your bitch ass up because first 2489 is still the ziggurat, now I'm sick. Yeah, I am actually sick. Guys, like, who the actual fuck gets sick in the early of August in the middle of summer except Daddy Furious? Well, I guess I have no one to thank for except the German summer and the German weather. As a matter of fact, as I'm speaking right now, it is raining outside and the trees are shaking, just like how I was shaking when that bitch sucked the soul out of my Middle Eastern 12-inch above average penis. Anyways, getting to the actual video. So if you pay attention in the beginning, I started this video with 66k gems, 66,000 gems, and you might wonder how the fuck did I obtain those amount of gems without selling my hairy butthole on OnlyFans. Well, you don't need to wonder anymore because I got those gems from KVK achievement by having 40 million kills in this KVK. First you get 20k gems by having 25 million kills, and you get 40k more gems by having 40 million kills. And your KVK must reach S or S plus tier. The S tier will grant you 20k gems and the S plus tier will grant you the 40k gems. And how can you upgrade the level of your KVK? Well, first you gotta be in Season of Conquest, and you can upgrade it by killing enemy troops or having your troops killed. And by that I mean getting severely wounded. And boy, let me tell you, did I cook with those 60k gems. I spun this motherfucking wheel about 100 times like a man in his midlife crisis who is also addicted to gambling, going to Vegas. I think you might have just heard the seagulls in the background. I bet one of them was an addicted gambler in his past life. Fuck off, seagull, I'm recording. Don't you worry, guys, because I caught the motherfucker red-handed while being butt-ass naked, as you can see, because he was stuck in too much trash behind the window. Anyways, back to the recording. Believe it or not, I am still allergic to 2489's bullshit. One sneeze and my eyes almost came out of my balls. My eyeballs almost came out of my eye sockets. There you go, that's much better. Anyways, guys, we just reached 100 spins. We collected 15 heads, and then I was a bit short in heads, so I collected more from Lucerne Scrolls. And then still I was a bit more short, so I collected some more from KVK shop. And finally, I had enough to max this motherfucker, because how long is it gonna take, man? How long? I had to spin the wheel 100 times, I had to buy it from Lucerne Scrolls, and I had to buy it from KVK shop to finally have enough to max this OP-ass commander. And there you go, he is maxed. Now that the shenanigans of Daddy Furious being a whale is over, we are here, right? We can see this boy is shiny, looking good, and there are some improvements to be made, to be honest with you, okay? The first improvement, my voice is unresponsive just like my dick after having a rough sex. The first improvement that I made was going to his talent tree and remove all the points on Feral Nature talent, because now that he's maxed, he doesn't need that anymore and it's all going to waste. So what I did instead is invest in the archer tree, and now it looks like this. So use this tree if you have a max Qinshi Huang with secondary Zhuge Liang and one horn. If you don't have the horn, or if you don't have secondary as Zhuge, then you can go with this talent. And of course, if you don't have a max Qinshi Huang, then go with this one instead. Here you will get rage from Feral Nature, and that's going to compensate for your lack of horn and Zhuge Liang, for example. And of course you will get 6% march speed by having points invested in the versatility tree. The best formation is obviously Wedge, because Qinshi is specialized in skill damage and he needs to be buffed with as much skill damage as possible. That is why balanced is useless, because he never goes above 80% rage. What you need to equip on this guy instead is Hunter, Unstoppable, right? Everything that basically gives this guy a skill damage boost or bonus. And of course, if you don't have those, then you can go for either health, for example, Feet or Hardy or Robust, right? That's also a good one. And as other slots that give you skill damage, you can go for Brawler, you can go for Assertive, and so on. Because Assertive, for example, doesn't say skill damage, but it counts as all damage. And of course, Intrepid is one of the best, 10% skill damage, which is a must-have on Qinshi Huang. Focus Fire is also very nice. And yep, that's about the armaments. Now, about his accessories, you want to have only 2, right? For this guy, you need to have Pendant because of boost to skill damage. And you want to have Horn for rage. You don't need to have Ring on this guy because Ring is like random damage boost, whereas Pendant is permanent damage boost to skill damage. And of course, Horn grants you rage. This KVK I used Qinshi as unmaxed, as only 5551, and with those skills, he got me 5 million kills, which is very nice. It's equivalent to more than 100 million kill points from only one commander, not counting his secondary, which was Zhuge Liang. And here we can see some reports of his performance in this KVK from Pass 7 and from Kingsland. Of course, once again, every report is with this guy being only 5551, with his first skill being unmaxed, as I was still working towards that goal, and finally I have reached it, as you saw in this video. But yeah, some people like to use it as 5515, right? Some people like to use it as 5551, like me. I don't like to skip the third skill because I found the fourth skill not as necessary as the third skill, especially when you have Zhuge Liang as secondary, and especially if you have a horn and if you have the talents on feral nature. So you don't need the fourth skill that much compared to the third skill. And also I saw some people like to use him with YSG and not with Zhuge, because YSG gives this guy a much more boost to his skill damage compared to Zhuge, right? And they are both getting nice reports, sometimes toe-to-toe reports, sometimes YSG gets him a better report, sometimes Zhuge gets him a better report. Me personally, I would never bench Zhuge to use him with YSG, right? Because I only have one Archer March, so that makes no sense for me to bench Zhuge. Literally an OP meta commander for an old ass commander like YSG. I get it, he's OP, and his museum buff is nice, his boost to skill damage for Qinchi is nice, but it doesn't get as close to Zhuge Liang, right? There you go. And of course, Zhuge has a higher DPS and a skill damage than YSG, so your choice automatically should be Zhuge Liang. That's as best as I could put it. Anyways, but if you run 2 Archer March, then of course go for it. Run Qinchi with YSG and Zhuge with Hermann Prime, just like it used to be. And of course, since maxing of Qinchi was done on stream, I also did some other stuff on stream, and one of them was doing transmutation of some of my armaments, right? This was one of them. As you can see, all of the stats in the beginning of the transmutation were at 1.5, right? Pretty much all of the stats. Then I used one stone to transmute it and get higher stats, and I got higher rolls on 2 stats, being attack and health. So I locked that motherfucker in, and I decided to go next for defense, right? To get a higher defense. And this is what I fucking got, and this was my reaction. Let's go. God, dude, that shit is fucking insane. What the fuck? Yes, that was quite eventful. And then, of course, I went and decided to try the same thing on this armament, which I have Thundering on Baiki. And of course, I wanted to get a higher defense, just like attack and health. So, said, fuck it, let's try, let's see. I drink a sip of White Monster and hold onto my magic lantern to scare away the negative energy, the negative aura, and I click on Transmute. 1,